All right, for the meaning of my project, I didn't want to just be something, so I could get something turned in. I wanted to actually mean something for my ISM journey. The purpose of the project was to give me a hands-on assignment that gives me experience in the field of architecture, but still follows my level of education and experience. So I don't know, at this point, I didn't know how to work CAD. I didn't understand all the points of architecture. But I did know that I knew how to draw the pencil and I knew how to measure, so I figured I could work with this. Plus my parents were looking to make a new fence, so might as well knock out two birds with one stone and figure out how to do that. So this is my actual cover page to my original work PowerPoint. This slide, that picture right there is my original drawing of the plan, the just rough plan of my final project. So in the top right we have the index, which goes over, it pretty much labels things in the page, that way each page doesn't get too congested. So when the person looking through can look at the front and see that's what all those symbols mean, so they don't have to, so there was not too many letters and words on each slide. And here's the location map of where my house lies in Frisco, Texas. So that's Main Street, and then this is Teal Parkway right there. So I'm between Teal and 423 in Frisco, Texas. So the cover page is important because it's the first part of an architectural plan that the potential client will see. So it needs to make a statement so they can see this is what they've done, this is what they're planning to do, and it can really sell your design in total. It has to be organized, inviting, and show a rough sketch of the basic plan. Index helps with the page numbers, and the area map with a compass will show the location and direction of the space. So my next page was a site plan, which would be more measured and it's more precise and accurate. Everything's to scale and everything works like that. So it just gives them a better understanding of what the final would look like. The site plan is important because it shows a more detailed overview from a top-down view of the total area where the project is located. It still must have a compass on there just so you can tell which way everything's oriented. So that's needed. Next would be my elevation views, and those are just a detailed partial view of the fence. So for example, this is the front view of the fence. So as if you were looking at it from inside of the backyard, that's what you would see. However, if you were looking from the alleyway, you'd see the metal posts. I wanted to make sure the posts are on the outside because we personally know our backyard is facing the alleyway. So the only people that are going to be seeing it are just people in cars. And so we didn't care that they saw an ugly steel post in the back. We wanted it to look pretty for the inside for us. So that's how that works out. So the elevation page is important because it shows a close-up view of a particular part of the project. It has to show measurements along with the each part. So like this board is a 1x6x8 board, and this is a 2x2x8. So it shows the dimensions of each part of the plan, so that way you're not just guessing. Next would be the detail view. These are typically hand-drawn to show that the architect does know how to draw on the fly, so the client can see that he doesn't just plug in numbers to a computer to make it whatever he does. So this plan right here shows how the steel posts would go into the concrete, and this side right here of the post of the concrete structure is a retaining wall that faces the alleyway. So while this one is facing the alleyway with a retaining wall and a previously done post, because all the posts in the retaining wall do not need to be replaced and are perfectly fine. However, the posts that are in the dirt need to be taken out since they are wooden posts. So we have to take out the wooden posts and replace them with steel posts, and this is how everything is supposed to fit up. It's supposed to go down 18 inches into the concrete, and the Newport concrete adds support. So each post should be about 2 inches long, which is also 2 inches thick, which also lets the client know more exactly what you're planning on doing. The detail page is important because it shows parts of the project that aren't seen to the naked eye. So for example, you wouldn't see underneath the ground and how the concrete fits in with the steel posts, while with the detail view, you can kind of see, okay, that's how all that makes sense and how it all fits together. This is my materials page. It just shows what all is going to be needed. And so instead of just going over everything that's needed, you have to calculate everything from the screws to the fasteners, concrete mix, paint gallons, everything. So this just shows the price per unit, just to give it a good idea of how much everything is going to be. So this actually shows the total cost estimate. So after adding up everything, including tax, the total of my fence design costed about $4,451. That gives us a pretty good idea. So when you actually go to shop, you know, okay, this is how much I need to make sure I have ready in the bank, so that way I don't start into a project that I'm not ready to do financially. So the material and cost estimate page are needed for the potential clients, so that way the client can see how much you're willing to spend, how much in budget you're going to be, and how much money they're going to have left over for other things. So it just lets the client really see where you're at, like monetarily wise. So it needs to be exact, and you have to think of everything that's going to cost money. Since we were building it ourselves, we did not put in labor into the price standpoint, but if you had to hire someone to work for you, you'd have to make sure the labor costs were also added into the cost estimate. So for my final product this year, I am designing a lake house for my mentor, as he is the client. And my final product originally started off as being a micro house. It is no longer that, just due to design changes and different things that Mr. Courtney wanted. So it turned from being a about 10 by 10 building to being multiple buildings with very elaborate structures and everything. So my product designed a house for Mr. Courtney that fits all of his wants and needs. And this makes me have to work with a client and go through the typical architectural steps in designing a house or a building or whatever you need to design. So I must fit all of his needs, provide conceptual images, draft floor plans and elevations, and have those drafts edited for Mr. Courtney's needs after what he likes and doesn't like. So at the end, I need to input all of my rough drafts into AutoCAD, so that way all the lines are exact and precise, and work with art skills to make the final product look more presentable. So product planning, this is what I wanted to have done. I messed up that or something. That wasn't like that before. So product planning, these are the steps. I have to have a programming phase, a concept design phase, schematic design phase, and design development phase. So I'll go into what each of these things mean, but that's just kind of how I want everything to be finished in time for. So for the programming phase is to determine what the client wants and needs for the final building. So I just took lists of what Mr. Courtney wanted in his house, so that way everything was set up the right way. I didn't have to keep editing things, just adding on. So if I had the original, what he wanted, put in the original drawing, it just makes the process a lot more streamlined. So here's the things that he required in his new house that I'm designing for him. So I'll just read off a few of them. So the key points is that he doesn't want it to be cubic. He wants it to be elaborate and have multiple different lines and angles, but he wants it still to be modern. So the white paved walls with this square roofs, and he wants the house to be pavilion style. And I'll go over what pavilion style is here in a second. So these, like I said, these are just all different things he wanted. And he wants a bedroom, bathroom, a patio, and a kitchen, along with just space for a pool and everything like that. So the concept design is to get ideas for the project that the architect has something to base his work off of. So these are just, you look at this and pull ideas from that. So here's an example of a modern design structure. It has very square, a lot of glass, and a lot of white. And then for pavilion style, it's more open floor plan with little walls, but having roofs overlay over everything. So everything's very open and in the nature kind of. And then he still wanted it to be a lake house. So he wanted to have a view and have, a lot of trees and shade and everything like that. So design development is the next step of it, and that is essentially the rough draft of the final product plan. It's hand-drawn, and Mr. Courtney red-marked my plan, which pretty much means he made suggestions and edited my plan, since he is the architect. Now, typically your client would not have architectural skills, so they wouldn't know, what would be perfect. But in my instance, he did know what was needed and what isn't, so he did edit my drawings. So here is my original floor plan draft. It's a lot smaller than how it ended up, but you can see all the marks on it were done by Mr. Courtney for things that he wanted rather than what I originally had. Here is the interior view of my original plan, which was again edited. Oh, I have to add stuff because I'm not done yet. But there should be something on here. Okay. Oh wait, I don't have this part done yet. So, schematic design will be what is needed for the project. So like what schematic design is the final AutoCAD drawing that's going to have the elevation views, the floor plan, and all that goes with it. It's also going to have the touched up, colored form, essentially the thing. So that's what the final work is. That's all the work combined throughout the entire project will be the schematic design. And it's going to have precise measurements and multiple views to really give a good outlook towards the final. Reflections. So this year in ISM has taught me that I do not want to be an architect, and I liked that. I figured that out now, so that way I do not have to go into college and spend a lot of money on classes that I wouldn't typically enjoy and don't want to pursue. So overall, my goals consist of just finding what I want to be and finding what I want to do after this year in ISM. So I'm happy that I could narrow down one option. And thank you. Is there any questions?
What made you decide you don't want to do this?
I don't like there's too many, all the negatives seem to outweigh the positives for me. Positives, I do like drafting, and I do like working with AutoCAD and that type of thing, but the problem is that I don't get to choose what I'm designing. It's all based off of what other people want, and a lot of times that means I'll start off building a fast food restaurant. And you don't get to design things that are fun. It's not like you see where people design the huge skyscrapers and things like that. Typically, they'll work 30, 20 years designing people's houses for a living, and then they move up. So I just wanted something where I didn't have to do something I didn't like for so long just so I can get to a point where it's likable. And at that point, I might just hate all of it at that point if I'm working so long with something I don't enjoy. And also, it's just if you want to have a family and everything growing up or after college, it's hard to do that with a low salary.
All right.
And thank you for watching my ISM speech. So,
Thank you, Mr. Courtney.
thank you, Mr. Courtney.